My debate is going to be on abortion. The Socialist Party is a socialist feminist organization that recognizes the struggle against habitual male dominance and particularly must go hand in hand with any struggle against capitalism. Therefore, we pledge our opposition to all forms of sexism and demand equality in all aspects of life. We demand full support for every woman's right to choose when, if, and how we have children, including the right to free abortion on demand at any stage of the pregnancy, without interference or coercion. Clinics providing abortion services must have full protection in the law. We've repealed the Hyde Amendment and all other legislation that limits access to abortion services, thus denying the right to choose to millions of women, particularly low-income women, women of color, and young women. We demand full reproductive freedom for all women by removing all discriminating barriers to reproductive rights and reproductive health care. We support free abortion at any stage in the pregnancy for anyone for free. That's confusing. It's pretty straightforward.
Thank you, Mr. Lethbridge. Okay. Mr. Smith, you're up.
Alright, I'm Mr. Smith from the Independent Party. This country needs strength, we need energy, and we need brain. We must be smarter, sharper, and more cunning to make this country what it once was. Strong, decisive, and efficient. Our problems and our questions should be answered about where the government states on foreign policy, taxes, economy, immigration, healthcare, education, abortion, and civil liberties. They will all be answered. This country will be handled delicately and surely, and will be transformed to a new frontier of opportunity and a safer, smarter environment. No country shall mess with us. No immigrant shall take our jobs. Our children and our families will be safe. With the fraction of gun laws, you shall be able to protect yourself, your friends, your family, and your property. That's the Independent Party.
Thank you, Mr.
I'm Lauren Messier, and I'm part of the Libertarian Party. We defend each person's right to engage in any activity that is peaceful and honest. We welcome the diversity that freedom brings, and the world we seek to build as one, where individuals are free to follow their own ways without interference from the government. The government is not our friend. They are hiding things from you that you don't know. And we need to stand up and be our own people and make our own decisions. Thank you. That's the Libertarian Party.
Hi, I'm Carly Hinsey, and I'm from the Green Party. As we start getting closer to the election, the people need to know where the Green Party stands on ag trade and healthcare and education. When it comes to ag trade, we need to focus on keeping it within our nation, or within our country, and focusing on our economy and making sure our economy is strong before we help others. And as healthcare, we deny healthcare, every year, there has been 10,000 people that die a year in healthcare. Therefore, we need to help support people who need healthcare to reduce the death count. Education is something that all Americans have, and we believe that is very important to help our nation grow and help us become smarter and build businesses. And that's the Green Party.
Hello, I'm Brandy, and I am from the Republican Party. Here at the Republican Party, we are for the people, by the people. We believe in capitalism, so less government, the better. We believe that We will fight for our people and our country, and that our country is first, and it is the best country out there. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Vice President Matt Lockey from the Democratic Party. Unfortunately, presidential candidate Lex Lupton couldn't be here today. We believe that we should have equality for all citizens, no matter their skin color, no matter their origins, no matter what their beliefs. All religions should be represented, and people should have the right to pro-choice. Agriculture business is at the heart, local level, and we need to support them where that is. And we believe in gaining respect from our citizens.
I know him.
My name is Shane Durnell, and I'm the presidential nominee for the Constitution Party. The Constitution Party, we are committed to following and abiding by the laws and rules set out in the Constitution of the United States of America. We strongly and firmly believe in the principles laid out in that document and other such documents like the Declaration of Independence. We believe in limited government. We want the people to be able to decide for themselves. Empowerment of the people is something that I'm very passionate about. I think that whenever a decision, a problem is placed before the American people, it should be resolved at the lowest level of government possible. If it can be resolved at the city level, it should be resolved at the city level. If it can be resolved at the county level, it should be resolved there, and if this at the state level, there. Only in the last resort should the federal government intervene in the lives of its citizens. Over the past years, the federal government has overstepped its bounds. Since World War II, the American government has become an increasingly looming and invasive presence in the people's lives. What I hope to work towards, if I become president, is empowering you, the people, to decide what you want and what's best for you in your area. Thank you.
All right, candidates, we have a series of 6 questions we will ask you. We're going to go ahead and start with candidate Lethbridge. So, candidate Lethbridge, how do you plan to make healthcare affordable to everyone?
The Socialist Party believes in heavier taxes than most of the other parties. And with the heavier taxes, we use that to build up our federal banks to have the money to support healthcare and healthcare clinics for all citizens.
Mr. Smith.
The Independent Party and Associates have elected me so that I can say that we believe in patient-centered healthcare systems. They're basically based off free markets, fostering competition, and driving healthcare costs down. So basically, companies like Cigna and other insurance companies basically compete for prices so that people want to go to their company, and it basically drives those prices down so that people want to go to that company so that their healthcare prices are as low as possible. And healthcare that is run by the government, these are studies that we have done, will reduce the efficiency and the standard of the care. There will be increased waiting periods due to how many people are on that healthcare. And my evidence is just for government-centered healthcare systems throughout the world, they lack when it comes to all people on one healthcare system.
Thank you. Lauren, same question. How do you plan to make healthcare affordable for everyone?
So as a Libertarian Party, we understand that everybody wants quality healthcare at an affordable price. So we believe that the best way to achieve this is by removing the government interference. The government agencies are slowing down the development of new medicines and technologies. So without the government, we would have those new technologies and new medicines at our hands instead of their own when they get to decide when to bring those out.
Thank you, Ms. Hinsey. Same question.
As a Green Party, we believe that the taxpayer dollars should be able, the taxpayer dollars should support healthcare, and that we believe everyone should have healthcare because there is many people that die a year. So it is a right, not a privilege. So we believe that everyone should have it, and when taxpayer dollars take over that, everyone will get the chance to afford healthcare.
Thank you. Ms. Cooper, how do you plan to make healthcare affordable for everyone?
Well, here at the Republican Party, we support the idea of individuals being able to manage their own healthcare costs through medical savings accounts and flexible savings accounts. We believe that individuals who have flexible savings accounts should be able to roll over their unspent money each year rather than losing it. The Republican Party believes that the more freedom people have in choosing their healthcare and their own way of managing healthcare costs, the more efficiently the entire system will run. Lowering prescription costs will also significantly lower healthcare costs. And the Republican Party encourages employers to provide their employees with adequate healthcare coverage.
Vice President Lucky?
This is a topic that the Democratic Party has been kind of pursuing for decades. Back in 1965, Johnson signed Medicare, which would allow us to insure our American seniors. In 1997, we had the Children's Health Insurance Program, which as of today covers over 8 million kids. In 2010, Obama signed the Affordable Care Act, which has allowed 20 million Americans to have affordable care and 2.3 million young adults to be able to care for themselves while fulfilling their school by allowing to stay on their parents' health insurance for up to the age of 26, from which they can then support themselves. It also ensures that discrimination based on pre-existing conditions will be illegal, and most Americans who have recently shopped for healthcare were able to get that for less than $100 a month, and we will continue to do so.
Mr. Donnell, same question.
I believe that healthcare is a commodity, and I believe that the federal government has no place in telling average citizens what they can and can't do regarding their health. I believe that a free market system that incentivizes providers and drives innovation will help reduce cost and make it more affordable for the average citizen. I would also encourage individual states and municipalities to set up individual high-risk pools for those with terminal illnesses and other high-risk conditions.
Thank you. All right, our second question, and we're going to start our way with Mr. Donnell and back down. Besides standardized testing, what are some other forms of assessment to measure the growth of our American students?
I personally like to use a yardstick for myself. But other than that, more answering the question, I don't believe that districts and schools and our students should be subject to the stressful type of standardized testing that they have been since President Bush took office. It's a lot of data collection for the sake of data collection's sake, and we haven't seen it working. So I believe that tracking the skills and certificates that students earn throughout their high school career that make them more marketable to colleges and in the private sector is a good way of tracking growth. And also, on a more individual basis, students should write portfolios to exemplify all that they've accomplished and learned in their high school careers. while this is not very easy to put into boxes and look on a spreadsheet, it allows more personalization and flexibility for students.
Mr. Lockey, same question.
We believe in allowing the students to take different types of measures such as surveys and other self-assessments that allows them to kind of determine where they feel they're at, as well as putting them into situations in lessons that teaches them about life and about how they interact with the world in order to ensure that they are ready for the rest of the world when that time comes.
Ms. Cooper, so besides standardized testing, what are some other forms of assessment we can measure or use to measure the growth of our students?
Well, the Republican Party are huge advocates for the No Child Left Behind, which requires the states to develop assessments for certain skills, so certain skill-based tests, as a way to measure school growth.
Ms. Kinsey, same question.
Well, other than allowing biased standardized testing, the Green Party believes that we should look at their learning logs, so it's like their overall grades and how much they participate in their community and how well-rounded students they are, instead of putting them in a classroom and expected to take standardized testing and being limited on their amount of time that they have to answer 75 questions to 45 questions. We believe that putting them under that stress may conflict their knowledge that they know, and putting them under that stress will not allow them to do their best that they can do when they aren't tested like that in their school. So we don't believe in biased standardized testing.
So as a Libertarian Party, we think that every child and community is different, which is why parents and communities should be able to choose what's fit for their kids. So with the standardized testing, I mean, you should be able to choose if your kid, and along with the skills. I mean, every student's different. We advocate free market education where parents, teachers, and students, not the government, should make the decision and make their own choices on their kids' or students' education. The one-size-fits-all education that is used now is holding America's children back.
Mr. Smith?
To state first, we assert that parents have sole stewardship in educating their children, yet may delegate part of this stewardship to trustworthy educators, whose intent and ability can and should be under constant scrutiny. We assert that there are no provisions for governmental intrusions in America's educational system found in the Constitution. So we'd like our teachers to be looked at closely to make sure they are teaching our students properly. And then following up with the state testing question, we believe too much testing doesn't really justify the students' knowledge, as some students can't sit around in a testing room all day or just don't have the capability just to sit there and focus for so long. So we'd like to very heavily focus on grades and look at their grades more than standardized testings and SATs, ACTs, things like that. But we'd also like to have specific tests that may test them on certain categories so that we do get a sense of knowledge or a base of where they are at.
Mr. Lethbridge?
We believe in recognizing the potential of all children, and that instead of spending money on standardized tests, we should spend it on raising salaries for teachers and on lowering the amount of kids in the classroom at one time.
Thank you. All right, we'll start with you, Mr. Lethbridge. A large conversation taking place is that we should change the start time of the school day for high schoolers. What do you think the school days, or what time do you think the school day should start for high school students?
9 o'clock, preferably, because many kids do not wake up in time for 8 o'clock, and when they do, they are groggy and slow. And research has already proven that 10 o'clock is like the optimal time for when you're awake and ready to learn, but that's too late in the day, so 9 o'clock would be good portions.
Mr. Smith?
Insufficient sleep in adolescence has been shown to be associated with a wide variety of adverse outcomes, from poor mental and physical health to behavioral problems and lower academic grades. To improve student academic performance, reduce engagement in risk behaviors, and improve health, I propose the school start time be set back to 8:30. So that's not too late in the day, so that the kids still have a day after school is over, so that they can also wake up in the morning and have a little time to get ready for school and don't have to wake up so early. Studies show that later start times improve attendance, less falling asleep in class, better grades, and fewer motor crashes. So when you look at the statistics, it's actually a safer environment for students as well.
Basically, as the Libertarian Party has said before, we think you should be able to choose your own time. So it's not reasonable for, to be like a college class and you choose what time you want to go to school, and because, elementary and high school is different. But your parents, as parents, you should be able to choose for your kids what works for you in getting your kids to school. So as of right now, we decided to keep the school time how it is, but still have that choice to where if it was really a problem for you as an individual, you would be able to homeschool your kids or make that on your own time.
Ms. Hinsey?
As the Green Party believes that we should still have a 7-hour school class day. But we believe that starting our school days at 7 and getting out at 2 would allow the kids to have more time after school to work on their homework or actually have a job and be able to further their education, and they would have more time to get to sleep and than getting out at 3 and having a less amount of time to actually do your homework.
Thank you. Ms. Cooper?
I would say leaving it as it is, so 8 in the morning, because if you go any earlier, that would take away from, many students can barely even show up for an 8 o'clock day, let alone a 7 o'clock day. Kyle Richard. And so I would say that 8 o'clock is good, but if you go any later, you have to think about sports and how much homework teachers actually give to their students, and dinner and all this other stuff that would play into the part that would be like going to bed at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, depending on how busy your plate is. So I would say leaving it at 8.
Mr. Hockey?
The Democratic Party believes that a good start time for schools would be that of 8:30, recently shown with Bill 328. Even if the time is moved to 8:30, it doesn't necessarily impact how much time students will have as we get out, as it'll only be a half hour. And yet it will still ensure students have the required amount of sleep that they need to be getting in order to stay healthy and to maintain a good life.
I believe that it is not the role of the federal government to decide what time schools start. Nowhere in the Constitution does it give the federal government this power. And every state is different. We have a very diverse union of states here. The needs of a school in Hawaii will not match the needs of a school in Nebraska or Minnesota, where you have very urban centers of population and a state that doesn't have daylight savings time, so their daylight hours are going to be different, whereas on the other hand you have a state that is a very rural population and lots of nighttime and less hours in the day. And therefore, I believe that individual districts and schools should be able to determine their own start times for their students.
Thank you. All right, starting with you, Mr. Durnell. How would you respond to California's declining water resources?
I believe in such a crisis that limited intervention on behalf of the states would be necessary to mediate an agreement that would distribute water from surrounding states to California and the affected areas. And I would also encourage the California governments and people to conserve as much as possible, because there's no sign that these droughts are going to to cease anytime soon. But it is not the role of the federal government to strictly enact legislation that will tell the Californians what to do.
Thank you. Mr. Lockie?
We believe that we could enact minimal legislations and regulations in order to ensure that we have enough water to be able to send to where it needs to be in our states and who it needs to be used by. We also believe that there are programs such as the Conservative Stewardship Program that allows for this water to be preserved and to support economic sustainable agriculture.
Ms. Cooper?
The Republican Party believes in desalination plants. Now, desalination plants will take salt water, so like water from the ocean, and turn it into drinking water. And we also believe that we should probably stop sending so much water out of California.
Thank you. Ms. Hinsey?
As we all know that there is different amount of rainfall each year, so we need to watch our water rights and where it goes, and we need to have water constrictions in order to save the water instead of sending it different places and taking it out of the places that actually need it and giving it to others. The government we believe that the government is responsible to making sure that the water is clean and usable for the citizens to use and for other people, so it's drinkable. So we're not going to get sick out of it, and making sure that we have a clean supply of water.
Lauren?
The government is creating restrictions for California to when you can water your grass and when you can, wash your car or use water. It's really the government's choice now that with the water restrictions, but then the government are also the ones sending our water because we're in such a drought, they decide to send our water somewhere else instead of for the people in California that are actually living in the drought. And we believe that should not be their choice, that because we are the people of California and we live in California, that it should be our choice of what we do with the water. And the water doesn't really affect the people with, I guess, their wells. I mean, it does, but people that live out in the country with their wells, it's not really that big of a problem for them. But the government shouldn't be telling you what to do with your water in a drought when they're the ones that are selling taking their water, so taking your water as the people to another place when they're so worried about you being in a drought.
Mr. Smith?
I was sitting on a meeting the other day, and Senator Weaver amended a bill about changing the water rights to farmers from a certain amount of years down to 2 years so that the farmers and ranchers could be more efficient when water was brought to farmers and they could sell it to other farmers that had less water or more water, just to make sure that that water was staying efficient and being used by everybody. Now, I also believe that we need more reservoirs and places to collect water and rainfall. A few years ago, there was some flooding in California. Well, we're in California, so I'm in California. Okay, so a few years ago, there was some flooding, and a lot of that water had to run out of reservoirs because they didn't want the dams breaking or reservoirs to overflow. And a lot of that water was getting wasted and getting pushed away so that places wouldn't be flooded and people could still get on the roadsides and roadways. So I believe that an intricate system of channels and streams that could go to reservoirs and places to collect that water would really save that water and store that water. And then also I'd ask that everybody plays Now I Pray for Rain in their car every day on the way to school by Neil McCoy to maybe get that rain to come down.
Mr. Lethbridge?
We believe in restoring the infrastructure and waterworks in California back to what they once were at, to lower the waste of water that goes through from seepage and from evaporation, and also that actual steps be taken in to control global warming as the cause of the California droughts.
Due to the sake of time, We'll work our way down the line, and each of you will have 45 seconds for any final appropriate remarks that you would like to share. So we'll go ahead and start with Mr. Durnell at the end.
At the Constitution Party, I'd like to restate that we are committed to empowering the people of this great nation. The Constitution and our founding principles have led us to our prosperity and the freedoms that we enjoy today. And I am thoroughly committed to preserving and fostering the protection of your prosperity and your freedom.
Mr. Lockie?
The Democratic Party, we want to ensure that the citizens have what they need in order to survive and be healthy. And that'll include taking anyone who's at a minimum wage to being from a starving income to that of a supporting income, and has the ability to do so, while also supporting agriculture at the local level within family operations.
Ms. Cooper?
The Republican Party is here to put the U.S. citizens first and put this country first before anybody else, and make sure that we are all here for freedom and have our own rights.
Ms. Hinsey?
As the Green Party, we believe that we need to build our economy before focusing on others, and making sure that we are healthy as a nation, and making sure that we're taking care of our own.
We, the Libertarians, want you as individuals to have your own freedom and be able to make your own decisions, and we are going to fight for you.
Mr. Smith?
Our country was once great, and the Independent Party would like to bring that greatness back to this country. So let's make America great again.
Mr. Lethbridge?
In the Socialism Party, we believe that the government should be involved in your lives, but that the government should support all of its citizens in both their work and in their lives at home.
Let's give our candidates a round of applause.